What's up, Peach Posse?
This is Anna.
This is Taylor.
Welcome to the Naked Peaches podcast.
Hi. Last week when we recorded, I feel like we didn't really get into the details of like what was really going on at Portrait Masters because we were on a time crunch.
Yes, yeah.
We need to talk about it. We need to debrief. We need to unpack.
Yeah. Before we debrief about that, just in general, this summer has been so go, 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 and I am not okay.
No.
Not well at all. It's been too much. Too much. Like, my suitcase it's just gone too many places. I've done too many things. I'm tired. I want to just lay in my bed. Like,
yeah, I want just like a week off to just like literally be a piece of shit in my house.
Yes.
You know?
Yes.
And not speak to anyone, not do any work. Like, I feel like we need like a hibernation week to reset for fall.
I would love to hibernate.
I don't know where we're going to fit it in.
No, we can't. We can't. But Portrait Masters was amazing. And everything we've done all summer has been amazing.
Yeah, it's been so fun. But it's like, it's weird. Like, you can be doing fun things all the time and it still can make you tired.
I know, it's too much. It's too much fun.
Too much fun was had. Also, like, it was like 120 degrees at Portrait Masters. Like, it was like nonstop. Like, we were doing things at sunrise. We were doing things at midnight. Like, I feel like it just was like a lot. Mm-hmm. Even though it was super fun, it was like, 5 hours of sleep every night type of vacation, which is not a vacation.
Okay, so last time we only really talked about day one because we recorded on the second day of being there.
We talked about the pool enema.
Yeah. I still haven't gotten over that story.
Me neither. I will never recover from that story.
But then after that, we just had a lot of other, like, shenanigans, like photo shoots, like, every day, twice a day.
3-4 times a day.
We got to do a photo shoot for our good friend Danielle. So day one, I was like, let's do a boudoir shoot. Like, I'd love to shoot you. And she was really hesitant. And then I talked to her about it 8 times a day, every day over the next 3-4 days. And on the last day, she was finally like, okay, like, I want to do it. I'm down. And we did it. She had a lot of fun. And then today she was messaging me and she's like, my husband is so excited. He's ready to send you money over Zelle to get the photos ASAP.
Oh my God. That's so cute.
I was like, I cannot wait to edit and share them with you.
I love that. And also, like, she has 3 kids?
Yeah, 3 kiddos, and she has twin toddlers. So this woman and she's running her photography business. Yeah. Like, she is also unwell with us.
Yeah. She's had 2 tummy tucks, but because she didn't want the scars edited out.
Yeah, she didn't. Well, at first she was thinking about it, and then she didn't, and I feel like we went through a full journey with her over 4 days that was incredible to watch.
Yeah, it was really cool to, like, watch someone, like, go through the process of thinking about it, being hesitant, then giving themselves, like, the okay to just do it, and then doing it and feeling really good, and, like, when you were showing her the back of the camera, she was like, holy shit, I can't believe that's me.
I know. And, like, we got her into the first pose, and we, like, did something, and I forgot what it was, but there was something where she's like, I just don't like this one thing. And I was like, okay, like, 1, I'm not angling you to show that. 2, like, I'll edit it if it's in there. And she just kind of, like, laughed. And I'm like, girl, like, what would you tell your client if your client looked at you and was like, I just don't like this one thing? And then, like, she started laughing. And she's like, obviously I'd tell them the same thing. I'm like, okay, that's right. Like, let's get in the pose. Let's go. And she had a blast.
Yeah. It was so fun to just, like, I feel like get to shoot people who are normally the ones who are always behind the camera. Because I feel like it's good practice for all of us to do it. Yeah. And it was a very special week. Yeah. But we're tired.
Okay. And then the last thing I think we need to talk about is Bella, who, so we've talked about Pratik on this podcast quite a bit. Everyone knows that we're all just obsessed with his photography and his editing and everything. But his wife, Bella, was at Portrait Masters and we had never met her in person before. Her Instagram is incredible. We'll link it in the bio. She does the most stunning, picturesque, like, you look at her photos and you're like, you feel enchanted. You feel like you're in a fairy tale. Yeah. You are in a whole nother world just, like, looking at her stuff. And she will, like, take the photo and then she does a lot of, like, drawing on top of it. They look like, I can't even properly describe them, but they're stunning.
It's like composite, like, fine art photography with, like, composite on top of that. And I know she uses AI as well. And, like, everything is kind of meant to look like something out of, like, a fantasy. Like,
yes, it's
very, like, dreamy and kind of, like the movie Labyrinth or something. Like, that kind of vibe is, like, her whole aesthetic. And
And then we met her in person, and she is just like a little fairy tale character.
She's literally a Disney princess. Yeah. Like, I'm actually so sad that we didn't have time to podcast with them, because I feel like her voice, like, the people need to hear her voice, because she sounds like I want her to read me a bedtime story every night.
Every night. And I'd fall asleep in 1 minute.
Literally. Yeah. She was like, just little, like, we kept saying, like, I want to just put her in my pocket. Like, she's just so cute. And, like, I don't know, you guys. Like, maybe I fell in love with her while we were there. I'm not sure. Like, sorry, Pratik.
Well, it's like you see her art, and it's so stunning. And then you meet her in person, and you're like, of course you are the person that creates this. It's like you are your art. She's like a living embodiment of her art, you know? So she like was going to have a booth, and then like maybe wasn't, and then ended up having a booth, but they didn't prep anything because they thought they weren't going to have anything. So she had these really pretty little cards that each had a photo of hers on it, and on the back was like a little Photoshop action that you could download or something. But she just laid them out on the table, and it looked like she was doing tarot readings, and she had you come up and you would pick one of the photos, and then she was like, whatever photo you pick, it's like you picked it for a reason, usually because it's like a representation of yourself. And then she would tell you about the photo and how it represented you, and tell you these sweet things about yourself. And I was just like, I was eating it all up. Like, whatever came out of her mouth, I'm like, yes. It was...
Believe anything she says.
Anything. It was so cute. It was so perfect. It was my favorite booth out of the whole thing. And it was so simple.
Yeah.
And I was obsessed. And I got mine. I, like, watched other people get theirs done. I'm like, I could sit here all day.
I would go to a party that was just watching her read people those tarot cards. Yeah, I'm obsessed with her.
We had a great time. Anyway, yeah, we were going to have them on the podcast, but we'll definitely hang out with them again soon. So in the future, we'll have both of them on.
Yeah, and we will link Bella's Instagram in the description, so you guys can see this and you can go be like enchanted by all of her amazing work.
Yes.
Okay, should we bring on our guest?
Yes.
Okay. Welcome back, Megan.
Hi. It's good to be back.
It's so good to have you here. You are our first repeat guest, besides Amanda and Anji, who are, our team members.
Oh my god, I'm the first, really?
The first.
Oh my god,
yes.
that's so exciting. Okay.
Also, you are mentioned every week. So it just is fitting to have you back on.
She's like our third unofficial host of the pod.
I feel like maybe I was like feeling like maybe I inserted myself as like an honorary peach, but I'm okay with it. I just have to own that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like, okay, at this point, you've been on the podcast. Mm-hmm. Camp Kramer you have come to like multiple parties and done, these like cool bead tables for us.
Yeah.
And I don't know.
You do our brows.
You do brows for us and like every other like diehard Peach Posse member.
Yeah.
Yes. Collecting them.
All the clients I follow, like I start to see every once in a while, it's like a new person starts to tag you, and I'm like, oh, they've gone. Yeah. They're now in the brow cult too. And
they're in the cult.
Mm-hmm. Some other guests are now, Mm-hmm.
And I feel like you're part of the Peach family,
Thank you. I want to be part of the Peach family. I'm in like a constant conversation as I'm listening to the podcast, so.
You also are going to maybe do your own shoot soon, right? That's what I hear.
The word on the street. Rumors have been flying. People are talking. Everyone's saying. Yeah, I'm feeling like, obviously it's time. It needs to happen. Hasn't happened. We had one set up like 2 years ago.
Yes.
It didn't happen. It was right before your wedding. I had a 2-year-old. It
was a crazy time.
It was a wild time. So yeah, I'm feeling ready. And I was like mentioned to Anna, I was like, I think I'm feeling ready.
I'm so excited for you. It's time.
It's time.
I'm so excited.
I'm excited too. That's how I know that I'm ready. Yeah. It's like, I'm feeling kind of excited, or I was like looking and like maybe adding things to cart, like some maybe lingerie that I'm like, ooh, I think I maybe want to try this. Like maybe that's kind of like, it's starting to feel a little more real, that I'm like, okay, it's time.
Yeah.
I gotta do it,
I'm so excited.
Yeah. And really, I want a t-shirt with my ass on it.
Yes.
Yes, like you need that.
I mean, do it for the shirt.
Everyone needs a shirt with their own photo on it. Everyone needs some wall art with their photos on it. Everyone needs to see a keychain, a Camp Kramer keychain.
A keychain?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You need it all. I got 2 of the photos Anna took of me at our close-up shoot, blown up, printed out, and I immediately put them in our bedroom where I want Colin to hang them, and I'm just patiently waiting for him to actually put them up. But they're there until they get hung up so that I get to see them every day. Because it's just
that makes me
a little treat for myself to see those photos,
Yeah.
Be reminded that I'm hot.
You are hot.
But everyone needs to do that.
Yes.
Like, I feel like having them like tucked away on your phone is not enough. You need to have a physical representation of them somehow.
100%.
Yeah.
I have mentioned, like, I did a shoot, like, 12 years ago with another photographer that we used to work with. It's the only other time I did anything like a boudoir shoot. And, like, I got it on a CD, you know, and, like, have it on a disc. And my husband now is in possession of it. And I was like, after our last podcast, I was like, can you please send me because I wanted to show you guys some of the I was like, oh, my God, I have to show you guys some of this. Has he done it? No.
Well, he probably doesn't have a way to, like, read a CD. Like, laptops don't even have those anymore.
Mine does, because I have an old laptop. There's a way. I'm going to get you guys some of these shots, because...
Yes, we need to see.
Yeah, there's actually one little camisole, like, tank top thingy that was my mom's that I wore in that I still wear. Like, I wear it on a regular basis. Like, I wore it to go see Barbie. Like, I wear this thing regularly, but also it's, like, super cute and kind of sexy.
Wait, bring it.
I'm going to bring it. I'm 100% going to bring it.
Yeah. We could, like, recreate some of those almost, or, like... do, like, the evolved version of them.
The evolved version, yes.
Oh, my God, fun.
Yeah.
Okay, so one of the things that I know we want to talk about today was, like, body image stuff. And I feel like, obviously, it's been a journey for you. We've talked about this a lot.
Yeah, I've been talking about this my whole life.
Exactly. It's just a lifelong struggle.
I'm never not talking about this.
Never not thinking about it. Okay, you know how guys, those TikToks of guys thinking about the Roman Empire?
Oh, my God,
How often do you think about your fucking body image?
Dude, did you ask Colin, though, how often he thinks about it?
He started laughing, and he's like, I know what you're doing. So it was too late. No, but he had already seen the TikToks.
But, like, did he answer? Like, did he tell you how often?
He doesn't like being a research subject.
Yeah.
If he knows I'm doing something like that, he won't participate.
Yeah. But so Gavin showed me the trend. I hadn't even seen it yet. And he, like, I know he listens to a lot of, like, history podcasts, and he loves, like, history show and, like, whatever. And so after he told me about the trend, I was like, wait, like, you probably think about it, like, weekly, don't you? And he's like, yeah, for sure. And I was like, why? Why?
I was dying at this trend. Like, I thought it was so funny. Yeah. And I couldn't wait to ask Max. And I was, like, really worried. I was like, do you know what and he's like, no, what? And I'm like, how often do you think about the Roman Empire? And he was like, what? I'm like, you don't know about this? Oh, I'm so excited. And I got a genuine response, which was that, like, it was kind of vague. Like, he's like, I don't tally. And it wasn't one of those, like, I mean, 5 minutes ago. Like, it wasn't one of those answers. Yeah. But we laughed so hard. And then I got to show him, like, a bunch of TikToks with it. And he was laughing so fucking hard. It was great.
Have you seen the TikToks where it's like, what's the
female equivalent? Yes. I enjoy
those
mine is?
Too. Mine is lymphatic drainage. No, it is.
Yes.
I think about that constantly. Really and the people who are doing the face yoga stuff where they're like, I send to Megan constantly.
I've been doing face yoga.
Okay.
The one where you go like this.
Yes.
You like squeeze your cheek.
I do this one.
Face you're making right now. Oh my God. It's giving demon.
It's a lot.
I hope it works eventually. I think in a year I'm going to have cheeks that look like they're straight Botox, but it's all muscle.
I learned a new one recently where you tilt your chin up and then to the side and then you stick out your lower jaw. Like...
I can't do them without, like, being guided or, like, I don't know them well enough to just freehand like you guys. I need to up my game.
You guys, there's one girl who I think I'm ready to buy her course. She does stuff where it's, like, loosening, like, tension, and she talks about how you carry a lot of stress in your jaw, which I know I do because I'm, like, a clencher anyway, and I have, like, a mouth guard thing that I should sleep with every night to, like, not clench as much, but... She talks about, like, ways that you, like, massage your jaw and face and loosen stuff up. And she has these photos, you guys, of what she used to look like. And then she makes her current videos. And her jaw is a completely different shape.
I need to see.
That's why I want to buy her thing.
Yeah.
I'll keep you posted.
I mean, it makes sense. Your face is not really that different than your body. Yeah. You know? Like, you can change how your body looks by your musculature and the things you do every day. You know, your body's shaped by the way you move. So why wouldn't your face do the exact same thing?
Yeah, exactly.
You know?
We need to take before pictures of ourselves, like now.
Yes.
Because we're early on in the journey.
Yes.
You need to invite some science in on this.
Yes.
And then we should start TikToking every day of, like, day 1, day 5, like, because that could be really funny to them. Yeah. I don't know, maybe in 6 months our faces will look different.
Yeah. I mean, that would be sick. I would love that.
Have you seen the one, too, where she, like, strengthens her under eye? That's what I really... So you have to, like, look up, and then you're basically taking this bottom part of your under eye, and you have to, like, squeeze it. It's like...
Oh, yeah. It's like the muscle you'd use when you smize.
Yeah. And you do that. And you have to, like, look up. So that's the one I want to practice because I just have a natural, like, I don't know. I've always just had, like, indents. I've never had, like, a smooth under eye, you know?
Yeah.
Like, so now that we got into all this, let's talk about body image like we were about to.
Right. That's where it was. Okay. We went Roman Empire.
Wait, what's your version of Roman Empire?
Oh, my God. Well, obviously, eyebrows. I mean, like, I can talk about that. I'm always in a constant conversation with at least a couple of people about that. I mean, it's all day. I mean, it's also my job. So does that count?
I feel like it sort of doesn't because it is your job.
Yeah. I'm going to think about this because I know that I have multiple.
Yeah.
I could go,
What's yours?
Greek mythology.
Love.
Every day I think about it. Yeah. Every day.
Love.
That's a big one.
What part of it do you think
go
about
hand in hand, though, too.
Yeah.
With, like, I mean, that doesn't feel like that far off.
But, like, Roman Empire is, like, actual history. And Greek mythology is, like, stories people made up, you know?
Okay.
But it's, like, the vibes of it, you know? Like, that's the type of, like, art that I want to channel in my photography. Like, the paintings of Greek mythology. Like, I have a couple in my house.
Yeah.
And so that's probably part of it is, like, photography inspiration. And then I honestly don't really know why. I just feel like it's, like, I just think about it all the time. I was obsessed with it when I was a kid. I had, like, a Greek mythology book for kids.
Yeah.
And I learned the stories of all these different Greek gods and goddesses. And, like, they were icons to me. So I just, like, think about them all the time.
I did take a Greek mythology class in college, and it was one of my favorite classes ever.
That's so cool.
I loved it.
Okay, anyway, Megan, can you tell us about your body image?
Yeah.
Oh, my gosh. Okay, so body image, and that, I mean, obviously, like, that ties really into, like, getting a shoot done, right? And something that you guys talk about a ton on. I love listening to all your guests, too. Like, everyone has their own snippets, things to add about, like, their version of this, like, their part of that story or, like, their journey with that. And I just, like, I love hearing it. And I feel unqualified to talk about it a little bit because I have, like, not an expert on this at all. I have not done explicit work, like, with a therapist about it. Like, so this is all just, like, me compiling information from the world, self-work on my own, and with, like, you know, work I do in 12-step and, like, the conversations I have with women every day, which is not nothing, but it's not official. It's not air quote, you know what I mean? So I just want to preface that, okay? This is just like me collecting stuff that is working for me.
Yeah.
Okay. Like, I'm not giving legal advice.
That's what this whole podcast is. Taylor and I do that every week.
Legal advice and medical advice all day long.
That's all I have to offer.
I do feel like, though, having a job where you're talking to women in a vulnerable and intimate setting and you're sharing
this is true.
These kinds of things, you get, like, a special insight that other people don't have.
It actually, when you guys talk about the experience you guys have with photographing people, it's so similar, I feel like, to what I experience, like being in front of the chair and someone's in the chair and they're, like, one-on-one, they're leaning back, they're, like, letting me touch their face, I'm changing the way they look, and oftentimes it just gets so vulnerable. So yeah, I mean, very much so, and I've been doing it for a long, long time now, so I even have these, like, long-term relationships and see people go through, you know, phases. And anyway, so yes, I do have access to just, like, a plethora of women, you know, who are talking about it because we're all talking about it.
Yeah.
Like, we really all are. So, okay, what do I do now?
One of the things you were telling me about that I did talk about a little bit on the pod, because every week I report back on what Megan and I have talked about most recently, was you were saying that, like, you went through a period where you would not work out if your reason for working out was, like, to punish yourself or something like that.
Okay, yes, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, so I started adopting that habit after my second kid. So certainly, like, the body image journey has been going on, and, like, you know, it's cumulative, right? Much like anybody who's had any sort of disordered eating knows that, like, it never leaves you. You're never healed. It's never gone. It's always in your mind, but you can be, you know, continuously getting better. And there's, like, kind of a cumulative effect of, like, things are working for me. You can have dips, but, like, you can kind of compile all the things that work for you. So obviously, like, there was a lot that happened before that for me, but second baby, like, was also pandemic. Like, it was January 2020, pandemic, and I had this baby and a toddler, and I had done so much work on feeling better in my body, but I was uncomfortable in my body. I didn't feel fit. I didn't feel good. I was really trying to hold myself accountable to not doing anything that felt punishing. Or sometimes I like to describe like a disordered eating as like sometimes it's kind of shiny. Like it's subtle, it's small little words in the back of your mind. You're like, maybe I should skip that. Or like, if you worked out a little harder, or like, let's get out there and get after it. And like, it can kind of have like the same, an adjacent conversation or sound as like somebody who's just trying to motivate you. It can sound really positive.
Totally.
Too, right? And like feeling fit and strong doesn't sound that bad. So if you're kind of like, if your eating disorder kind of sits right alongside, like, I just want to feel good, I just want to feel strong, like that can feel really confusing. I knew that I needed to like separate those girls from each other.
Yes.
So that I could then understand, because it's not wrong to like want to feel good. It's not wrong to want to feel strong or to have goals in fitness. I don't think it's inherently wrong to want to lose weight either sometimes. I really love like filling up my social media with like fat influencers and people who are like really anti-diet and things like that. So I think that it's also really hard to be like, well, how do I reconcile my want to fit into my clothes with wanting to be anti-diet culture?
Yeah.
Like, how do you get those two to fit together? And so where that led me was I needed to separate those two voices and that connection, because to me, I had felt like deep in me, I'm an athlete, and I really felt like I've always kind of been an athlete, and I have felt so good and wholesome and like really healthy as an athlete, but it also is deeply connected to my desire to control my body and to control my size and to control my perception in the world. And then I use that to determine how I feel. And that wasn't going to work for me, and certainly not how I wanted to like be a parent.
That's not the example you want to set for your two little kids.
No.
Especially two little girls.
Yeah. I mean, and not only that, I'm healing some guilt that I have too about like, just like I said, being face to face with women for years and years, and not always being the healthiest person, like to be around, be in a friendship with, because I couldn't fucking stop thinking about myself and my body in this way. And even when I would feel self-conscious about talking about it out loud, I think it still seeps into, if you're thinking about it all the time, the way you think and the way you feel about yourself is going to seep into how you interact with everybody. Mm-hmm. And I feel now this responsibility, not only to my little girls and being a parent, and to being like a person that my husband wants to be around, because he doesn't want to hear me talking shit about my body either. Neither do my friends, but neither do my clients. And like, I just want to be a better, like a role model in the world. And I don't want to be thinking about it all the time. But sometimes those external motivators are helpful to like get me out of the whatever. Okay, I realize that I'm veering a little bit, but
no, I'm like, this is so good. Relatable. I am like, yes, everything you're saying.
Okay, good. I'm glad that it's like, okay. So I remember hearing about, so obviously like intuitive eating is a really common, popular, there's a book. It's a way of sort of dismantling your anti-diet culture, and it's a popular way for people with eating disorders to learn how to eat in a way that isn't controlling. I'm just going to disclaimer, I have not read the book, I have not done the workbook, and I have not been to a therapist specifically talking about any of this. This is just like me compiling over years and years, like things I'm hearing about it, filling up my head with it, and I think you can still adopt things and heal yourself without doing it perfectly. Okay. Mm-hmm. You don't have to wait to read the book. If you don't have time to read a book, you don't have to wait to read the book to like take in things that resonate with you and adopt them into your life, right? Okay.
Yeah.
Which is why I love TikTok. Okay.
Where we get all our information.
I think TikTok is incredible. I love Instagram. I think that it is like absolutely amazing. Okay. So I remember hearing someone that I was friends with that I know had a long-term like battle with disordered eating. And I remember watching her talk about on Instagram, talking about not working out when she was exploring the practice of not working out when the motivation was to control her body, right? So if it's like, I got to go work out because I got to get my ass in my jeans or whatever, like you ate this, you got to go do, like, however it sounded, even if it's pretty subtle, she was like, I'm not allowed to work out. And I think, I don't know, I can't remember now if she was doing it for a period of time as an experiment with her therapist but I just was like, wow, it stuck with me. I filed it away. Much like a lot of healing with disordered eating and body image, I think that it's all about like, am I ready to do this yet? You can know that you need to heal. You can know that something isn't working for you, but you have to say to yourself, am I willing to go to any lengths? Am I willing to let go of the control, right? What if I do this and I never fit in my pants again? What if I let go of trying to control myself and then I don't get to feel skinny, or whatever your personal fixation is? And so you have to say to yourself, like, am I willing to do that? And I remember filing that little tidbit away about not exercising when the motivation was to control my body. And I remember thinking to myself, like, am I willing to do that? Because again, exercise and controlling my body were so intertwined, but they weren't necessarily not separable. Mm-hmm. I just knew that I needed to do some work to do that. I need to like give them some space. And while I'm also not a neurobiologist, I don't study neuroscience, but I do know enough about the brain. I think this is common knowledge too, that like neural pathways, right? You create strong neural pathways in your brain by thinking the same thing. Same thing with doing the same thing. You become strong at lifting weights a certain way by doing it over and over again. Same with your brain, right? So if you are always connecting working out with controlling your body, what do you have to do to make new neural pathways? You have to stop doing that and then do something different. So I had this new baby and I was like really also wanted to fit in my clothes and I really wanted to feel good. And I really know that like me being sad or depressed or feeling icky isn't good. But I also was like, there's no other way around this. I've got to kind of be willing to be in a bigger size, maybe forever, and not have any control over the outcome in order to try this experiment. So I did it as an experiment. I was like, I really want to go work out and I know that it's going to be good for my mental health to like get away from the screaming baby and the like potty training 2-year-old and all these things. But if there's a part of me that's like, and I want to be smaller, I want to burn so many calories. If I am getting on the Peloton bike because I am like, oh, I know that'll make me sweat and it's this. Even if the mental health, the like healthy part was also there, if there was any part, any little sliver that was like, it's to lose weight, I was like, nope, not allowed. And I just stuck with that for a period of time. I also practiced it with food too, where I was, if I had a moment of like, oh, you know, my husband and I are getting our chips for our snack bowls for night, you know, TV watching. Like if I had even an inkling of a thought of like, don't because calories or don't because you didn't work out or whatever the thing is, then I was like, nope, chips go on the bowl. Like, do it. Even if it was like, it might make me feel icky in my tummy, I was like, I need to still separate the thought process first. Does this make sense? Am I making sense?
Yeah.
I needed to like allow myself to not feel good physically in order to make new neural pathway like roads.
Mm-hmm. How many times did you find yourself not working out? Because I honestly feel like it would be almost every time for me.
It was a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was a lot. And it was scary. It was really scary because I've talked on the podcast, I've been someone who's run marathons and like run ultra marathons. It's been a huge part of my identity, like being physical and like feeling physical. It was a lot of not working out and feeling conflicted about it because I was like, I know it's going to feel good and I know that there's these other positives, but I could feel it working though. Mm-hmm. I could feel it working because I also was consciously saying to myself, if it's for this reason, even a little bit, you don't get to. And so I was like, nope. And so having that like conversation is part of that, like acknowledging that that's what was happening there, that I was having a desire to control my body. And so anytime that it was that I had the opportunity as a mom of babies and toddlers to work out and it didn't involve that, I was like, I'm free to go. And I would go work out. And sometimes the opportunity and the right mindset would not line up and I still wouldn't get to work out or move my body. Mm-hmm. I feel like there's so much you hear about like joyful movement, you know, joyful movement. And it feels really like I just want to vomit. Like
I'm with you.
It's really hard. It's really hard for me to like, but truthfully, like, all right, maybe it doesn't feel joyful, but maybe it's we're looking for like the absence of punishment or it's the absence of like, I'm using the word control a lot. Like,
yeah.
the desire, because that's really what it is too. It's like the desire to like make my body smaller or make myself feel better because I've earned some, like it's all about control. That's what it all boils down to.
I feel like joyful is not the right word for that whole movement.
It's almost like saying, I guess for me in my mind, it's the same kind of semantic difference as like body positivity versus, and what people think that means, which is like loving your body, which we love, and like body neutrality, which is just like acceptance. And that acceptance can also include not loving your body, or not loving how you're fitting in clothes, or not loving or that you don't feel strong, or that you can't run without getting winded and you used to be able to. Like, noticing that is a result, like the ability to go up some flights of stairs and not feel winded is like a positive health benefit of like moving your body and getting some cardio and being like, I can do this thing. So when I'm able to like have a thought like I want that without the added immediate thought of like, and I will fit into my jeans, like it has to be separate. And I can really say like, and it doesn't have to be perfect too. Like I don't have to, it's not like, oh, the result now is that I never have the desire to, whatever. It just means that like I'm conscious now, because it used to be something that I could not control. It was a voice in my head all the time. It used to be that the thing that I was so frustrated about is that I was just thinking about myself all the time. It was constant. And I really wanted freedom from that, right? So I feel like I've achieved that. Like, so
How long did it take before you regularly like stopped having those thoughts and were just like working out because you're like, I just like want to feel good today, and it wasn't like a punishment thing?
I wish I could tell you time. I don't think it was something that I could really say time-wise. I think it's more like the percentage of like it being like 99% of the time that I want to work out. It also has this thought. And then slowly the percentage like shifts, right? Slowly it kind of like, it's a slow thing, right? It was there a lot still, but there would be times that it wasn't. And I was like, oh, that's nice. Or like, wow, I got dressed and it just like wasn't part of my getting dressed today. Wow, that's cool. It's like one of those things. It's similar to eating disorder, and disordered eating is similar to like addiction in the sense that like, I don't really know if there was a day that I can remember that I just was like, I don't want to get high today. But like, but somehow it just became like, or like quitting smoking, like, and nicotine, like, I don't know if I remember exactly when, but I just know that it got easier and easier and easier. And then suddenly it's been a long time since I thought about that. I don't know that I'll never think about it, but
it doesn't run your life anymore.
Yeah.
And that's like, it's like a slow, like, tipping of the scale.
Yes. And I feel like it's kind of radical. I don't feel like I hear a lot of people talking about the exercise piece of like, you don't get to work out, it like kind of using that as a tool to reshape your brain. I feel like you hear more about like food freedom and like how to practice those things. But this is like, it was like a tangible thing that I could do or not do that felt really intentional. I don't know. Does that make sense? For all the ways that I had improved, like how I feel about eating, I had not quite gotten there with exercise or with movement. And this was by far one of the fastest, like as far as like speed and time go. Actually, I feel like it was, because it was kind of radical, like I actually feel like it got me further in a shorter period of time as far as like really getting down to like, I'm really willing to do whatever it takes to like heal this part of my brain. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, it's like you're really like forcing yourself to just like live it.
Yeah.
And like practice this idea of like, I feel like when you have an eating disorder and you're like in this like lifelong journey of recovery and you're like, you know, you're seeing all these tips online and you get the TikToks and like the stuff on your Explore page or whatever that gives you like all of these like little nuggets of wisdom here and there. It's like easy to like hear something and be like, okay, yeah, I know that like this is true. And like there's almost like for me an element of guilt and shame that comes along with like consuming that content, because it's like I can hear it and know that it's true. Like if there's like a post where someone is talking about how like, you know, when you deny yourself XYZ, this is the effect it has on you. Like I'm trying to think of an example where like I have this like kind of constant guilt of like I'm a shitty person for like having these thoughts and for like thinking about myself so much and for being so fucking vain, and like I can consume all of that content and like try and be better, but like I can't think myself out of it, and this is like an actual action, you know?
Yeah.
That's why I think it's powerful.
And, like, in a very literal way, I mean, movement is, like, the embodiment of action, right? You're moving. And it was just that one area, because they're very much linked. Not everybody who has disordered eating also uses exercise to control their bodies. Not everybody has that. But a lot of us do, or have a complicated relationship with that, or, like, I mean, gosh, like, yeah, we talk about content, and it's like, we all know how many jumping jacks it takes to burn off a donut, or, like, you hear those kind of stats and stuff like that. So movement is really linked for a lot of us. And it's the one area where I guess I had never been willing to do anything different, because it was that thing where I was like, but there's still all this positive, and I don't always feel that way. And, but I also really enjoy feeling strong, and, like, feeling some confusion too about, like, how do I reconcile my desire to separate from diet culture and my commitment to not behaving in a disordered way and to being the kind of mom, friend, person that I am in the world, with my desire to also have physical movement in my life and have it be important. Like, how do I have goals with that without it conflicting with this goal over here? And the way I did it was, I really had to, like, completely separate it. And yeah, I guess it's that thing of, like, yeah, are you willing yet to do it? So consuming a lot of the content, if you're sitting around and you're, like, hearing this maybe, and you're, like, hearing yourself there, but you're not there yet, maybe you will be. Just keep consuming the content. I think one of the first things I did before any of this was I changed the kind of content that I consume. So if there's fitness people that I follow who do not trigger me, and I follow them, and there's people that I have completely been like, absolutely not. That person totally triggers me. And I don't have to know why. I don't need to sit around and decide why. I don't need to keep them around because they also have some good ab exercises that I might want to pin sometime and do later. It's like, no, there is more of that. That's not for me. Oh my God, you know that TikTok thing where people will, like, stitch a video and, like, a quick video, and then they come up and they're like, not for you, because, like, it's not for you.
Yeah.
It's not for me.
Yeah.
So, do you know that one? Like, I'm like, oh, right.
I've gotten a lot lately about people cutting their hair really short. And someone's like, I just cut my hair. And then someone's like, this is not for you. And I'm like, no, you're right. It's really not. Like,
it's like that. So I really committed to, like, changing the fashion influencers I follow, and, like, where I get style inspiration from. Because it's that, is it a fit or is she skinny? There's that.
There's so fucking much of that.
There's so much of that. And because so much of it is just, like, we're so steeped in the culture of it, and the culture of, like, using the word flattering, and, like, being told that if your body is shaped a certain way, you should wear this kind of thing. And so we see that in fashion and the fashion spaces too. And, like, so we're so trained. I know I was so trained to see different bodies and just, like, not even register that they were, like, absolutely slaying outfits, and, like, seeing that for actual inspiration. And so I just started just shifting who I follow and just following more people with different kinds of bodies, and then really noticing that the thinner people that I follow, what is it that I really like about what they're doing, and really questioning those, holding them to, like, higher scrutiny. And it really got in there. It got into my brain, you know. I don't know if you guys have talked about or mentioned the podcast Maintenance Phase on this podcast yet. Have you guys talked about that?
I don't think we have talked about it, but I do listen to it sometimes.
I love Maintenance Phase so much, and it's just one example of, like, changing your neural pathways. I feel like it's just, like, adding someone else's voice in there, adding something else in there that is feeding you the information that, like, when push comes to shove, when you're in that moment of, like, I shouldn't eat this, or I should maybe walk a little faster because this is how you get some results or whatever. Like, when you have those kinds of thoughts, you're like, but you have that other voice in there now, and you can't unknow that. There is bring it into like alcoholism. There's a line in some AA text that says, once the seed has been planted in the mind of an alcoholic, you can't unknow that, right? So even if somebody doesn't get sober right away or doesn't, like, fix their, eating disorder immediately, doesn't mean that progress hasn't been made. That seed has been planted. So, like, all of that accumulation of, like, where you find inspiration, whether it's, like, or where you start replacing your content or the way you're thinking, like, it all connects, and you don't have to wait to be perfect. You don't have to wait to, like, if you're like, well, I don't have time to, like, make that therapist appointment. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm on a waiting list for like 3 different therapists. Or like, oh gosh, I did BetterHelp and I don't like any of the people and it didn't really do anything for me. It's like, you don't have to wait to work on your healing though.
And you don't
for
have to
all the
wait.
circumstances to be right. You know, you don't have to wait.
Yeah, you also don't have to wait to be like fully ready to, like, you don't have to be like, I'm ready to just let it all go and gain as much weight as I gain, and what happens. Like, it's gonna take so long time to get there, if ever.
Totally.
And like, I feel like as someone who's gotten sober, where it's very black and white, it can be confusing of like this idea of like, I'm not really ready because I'm not ready to let it all go. But it's like, it can still help you. You can still heal. You can still make baby steps, even if you're don't feel like fully ready to like change everything or let go of every piece of control.
And you don't have to do it perfect. I'm sure that I worked out when I also had a negative thought too. Yeah. Like, I'm sure I did. I'm sure I didn't do it perfectly. I don't recall, but it's very much the same thing of like, just for today or just for this moment or just for right now in this moment, and just like letting it all happen. It felt kind of organic to me. It didn't feel like something that I was quitting cold turkey. It didn't feel like I was starring something on a calendar. I don't even know that I've really ever talked about it other than maybe I mentioned it to you somehow, and then here I'm talking about it now, but I don't know that I've ever even talked about it. It's just something that I started quietly doing and letting it kind of unfold, and it built upon itself, you know?
I think it's so cool though.
Yeah.
I will try it. Like, I don't know if I'm ready to right now, but someday.
I think this reminds me too of a few months ago when we had Angelica on, and she was telling us about that remote population on some remote island who didn't have any like body image issues or any, you know, food issues or anything. And then media got introduced, and as soon as that happened, instantly there was like all these cases. And it is interesting because, you know, it's like you can do all these things and make all these changes, but at the end of the day, it's like things that society is like telling you is just constantly being thrown in your face at all times. And so it's like kind of like what you were saying, it has to kind of be baby steps sometimes, because even if you're like fully, like you said, there's probably a couple times, right, where you worked out but it's just like, even if you're fully trying, it's like you can't escape it in the world we live in today.
No, you really can't. And you can't feel bad, and you shouldn't feel bad about being steeped in it or being domesticated by it. You know, like, we come out all fresh in this world as little babies, and then we've been just indoctrinated with it. It is everywhere. You shouldn't feel, we can't beat ourselves up for that, which we cannot control. But it's helpful to just like notice. And the beginning is really just noticing, I think, and an awareness, putting that little seed somewhere of like, that is an option. Like, just, it's an option to not work out when I'm doing it because I want to control my body. What would happen if I didn't do that today? How would that feel? And then you can work out anyway. But you can still go through the thought exercise of like, what might it look like? What would happen? And then, because before I was willing to do that, I made a lot of other baby steps prior to that, which got me to the place of willingness to be able to let go of that last thing that made me feel like I had control, that I would sometimes tell myself was not that bad of working out or physical, right, movement. But I still had this one little spot where I could kind of fuck around, or maybe be a little unhealthy. And like, but before that, I made some commitments to myself that I wasn't going to count calories anymore. And I was gonna, like, say certain words, like, or I wasn't going to talk a certain way about food. I made like a lot of little steps and those commitments. And so I getting to the place of being willing to examine my fitness relationship, that was the last sort of thing in front of me. And I could no longer escape it in that moment, because I had done a lot of the other stuff first. Does that also make sense? So if you're not willing to do this yet, that's okay. The first steps might be like asking yourself why you're restricting, just what is that? What is the goal? And then do it anyway. Make those steps, talking about it. One of the first steps for me too, an early step that I remember, or a pivotal step I remember, is not talking about my body a certain way with certain people. So I think that a lot of people with eating disorders and disordered eating, or just girls, we are really comfortable talking shit about our bodies in front of other women, and there is oftentimes maybe one friend that you are unhealthy with.
Yes.
We all know we have a buddy, right? You have a buddy that you are sick with sometimes.
Yeah.
And this can be any addiction too. You can you could put drugs in here. You could say like that friend who's like, fuck it, let's not go to work, or like, fuck it, let's not, like, whatever the thing is, like the person who's maybe like, you guys are maybe not a good team. There was a day that I was like, I knew that I had this friend that like, wasn't that we wanted to be unhealthy with each other, but we were in a cycle. And so I remember being like, I'm not going to talk that way with her anymore and just see what happens. I didn't sit her down and fucking make her feel like shit because she's maybe not where I'm at. I'm in my own thing. But it did mean that I had to take some space, and it meant that I had to adjust my own thinking. It meant that I had to make a commitment. And the times that I slipped up, I was really aware of it. I was like, whoa,
that felt gross.
This is gross.
Yeah.
I remember, you talking about, like vaping, and like when I quit smoking, it's like the journey to actually quitting smoking for me was a series of small quits, right? Mm-hmm. And each start back up, like you don't lose all the knowledge that you had before, right? But each like start back up, I'd be like, ooh, that's I'm really aware of this. I really did this. Or if you've ever taken a word out of your vocabulary. I grew up in the 90s and we used the R word a lot.
Yes.
Okay, growing up. Amongst other like things, just to call someone like an insult, just to like call someone, that they're being dumb or something. And I remember at a time in my mid-20s, my early 20s, where I was like, that's gotta go. That's gotta go. But there'd be a couple of times out of habit that it would slip out, like especially when I was talking to somebody that I was really comfortable with. And I remember being so embarrassed. So it was a similar feeling to that of like when I would like kind of be a little sick with my sick friend. And it could be something really small, like just saying something in a negative way about myself, or maybe kind of getting involved, and maybe we're having a conversation and she's talking about her goals, and maybe one of them includes she was talking about her weight, and I kind of just was like, yeah, it feels good to just like say that. Yeah, I want to lose 5 pounds. Yeah, I do. And kind of just like voicing it. And it doesn't mean that saying things that you're thinking internally out loud is inherently bad, but I think we know when you're doing something productive when you talk about the problem versus when you're doing something that kind of makes you want to do it again. And the best word I have, and it's really overused, is just you feel triggered. Mm-hmm. There's the people that you can talk about it with and it feels like a solution. And then there's people you can talk about something with and it feels like, let's go do it.
Yeah. It's like where you see the darkness in the other person and they see the darkness with you and you're like, let's be in the darkness together.
Yeah, you can feel it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So that was a thing I did, and I had to kind of really be like, I'm not going to talk like that. And then you start to notice how much other people in your life do, or like I would notice my clients and the ones who I'm like, oh my God, wow, they really talk about themselves this way, and not like in a, oh my God, they're so sick. Like I'm so much better now. Like I just really see myself in it and just was like, wow. And imagining myself now as like an example of like, we don't have to relate to each other this way. That scene in Mean Girls where their girls are all standing in front of the mirror talking shit about their bodies and then like, okay, your turn. Like we could just not. Mm-hmm. You can just kind of go, yeah, I totally understand how you feel. And then like move the conversation along, or you don't have to relate by going there and like tapping into the darkness.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, and like, okay, not to get too like woo-woo-y, but
please
like,
do.
Let's get into it. This is gonna get a little witchy, but like what you were saying before, where you're like, I'm not a doctor, I'm not an expert, like this is just my experience or whatever. It just made me think about kind of like this idea that like the patriarchy doesn't want us talking to each other about these things. Like, the whole idea is for us to be like in competition with each other and like keeping everything a secret, making everything look perfect and shiny on the outside. Not talking about like how fucked up your relationship with food is and how hard it's been to like figure out how to work out in a way that doesn't feel shitty and like all of that stuff. Like you're just supposed to kind of keep it in. And so I feel like talking about it and sharing it with each other is like so powerful, even though none of us are experts in any of this. And like, because we're doing like, it's shedding light on it, Mm-hmm. And it's like, we can talk about it. Obviously there's a way to talk about it that's like dark and bad, and we're feeding into like the toxicness by being like, oh, I'm so fucking ugly, like look at my stomach, and like doing that back and forth. Obviously like that feels, you can feel it when you're doing it, but then like to talk about it and just like share your journey and get ideas from each other, or like feel less alone, like that's the kind of talking about it that I feel like we need to do more of. And it's like we get to do that because of our jobs, because of the like those like intimate conversations that we have with women. But then there's like, if you're working in a tech company and like you're talking to like tech people in meetings all day, you're not getting to have these conversations all day long.
Yeah, absolutely. 100%.
I don't really know where that came from. I was like, I need to say this.
It's tied into capitalism too. They make more money off of us that way. Yes. It's part of keeping women. Like
think about all the products people buy because they're unhappy with themselves. And then I know we mentioned the Unpublishable newsletter all the time, but I was reading hers last night and she was showing these 2 ads that she got back to back. And one of them was this cream that you put on your face to get rid of like your sunspots, and the other one was this woman using a freckle pen to add freckles onto her face because she wanted the sun effect. And it's like, it's so true. Like we get this every single day, and you can't do anything right. You can't, like, no matter how good you look, there's always a different level that you need to achieve, or a different trend, or then something goes in, something goes out. Like, it's literally impossible, and that's how so much money gets made.
What do they call that? Moving the goalpost, right?
Yes.
And that is so much like beauty industry, capitalism, patriarchy. It's all like so much goalpost moving. You will never achieve all of it. We're never going to be younger. We're never going to be like, it's just not going to happen. But boy, can they make some money off of it. Mm-hmm. I also want to be clear, like, I don't think there's anything wrong with, I'm not immune from insecurities.
Nobody is.
Yeah,
no,
of course.
Okay, yeah. I don't think there's anything wrong with talking about them. But I think we all know the difference in feeling when you're having a meaningful or productive conversation about insecurities or negative feelings you might be feeling about yourself, and when you're bringing it up and stirring it up. Mm-hmm. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Like, and I think it's tied into the neural pathway stuff too, where, for example, in that one friendship I was mentioning, and just to be clear too, I did it in a lot of friendships. I did it all over the place. But in this one in particular one, it would leave me with this feeling of bad. It would leave me with a feeling of like, I need to go do something about my XYZ feature, or, you know, I need to get my fucking diet under control, or I need to, like, that's it, I'm going to be strict with my calories, and I'm going to work out harder, and I'm going to get after it more. And, like, it would leave me feeling sick and kind of sad is the best way to kind of, when I look back on, like, how did I feel emotionally in those moments, leaving those kinds of conversations, that was how I would feel, versus uplifted, powerful, positive, connected to people. It's like, it's what you guys talk about all the time too, with like talking about women and their insecurities and like photographing them, and then they end up feeling like, yeah, that doesn't like disappear. I don't immediately feel like everywhere I go, like they are like feeling their thighs or whatever their stomach or whatever the thing is, but they know it's not so bad, you know? Mm-hmm. It isn't something to like fight, or that they have to go do something about it. And there's like a difference there, right? It's totally that, like, chasing versus like sitting with, being with, acceptance, neutrality. A lot, like, body neutrality is interesting too, because I really feel like people, I think there's an idea, I think I had the idea too, that like I wasn't doing any of this right if I still felt bad, or if I still felt like icky in my skin, or if I still felt like, God, I feel bummed out that I can't run right now. I feel really like sad that I can't like feel my muscles like feeling firm, or like I felt like I was doing it wrong. I felt like I was doing body positivity wrong.
Yeah, it feels like you're still sick or something. Yeah, which you can't, like,
not true.
Yeah,
like it just means experiencing that moment and being like, yep, that's okay too. Like inviting it in and getting comfortable with the things, like, yeah, I did feel good when I did that. That was something I like to do. Maybe that's something that would suit me again. And then moving on. Mm-hmm. Like that's the difference too, is like the moving on piece.
Yeah.
Because it's the dwelling, it's the like constant, it's the hamster wheel, it's the like, it colors everything I'm doing. It's with me all the time. I mean, am I like aware that like, okay, there's lights, I'm like, well, I don't know what's happening with my face, like, but I feel so much freedom in being like, yeah, that's true. I could maybe see these videos and be like, wow, the side of my face, I don't know what, or like, wow, why am I so red? I'm so red. Why am I always so red? I should have worn my makeup. Like, well, thanks, whatever it is, right? I can still think that, but the difference is I can sit through this and I'm not constantly thinking about it. Mm-hmm. I can still have that reaction if I saw it, but I can move on a lot faster. And it's not going to ruin the rest of my day. That's the difference. And that's really what I was hoping for
I feel like that is so key, is like being able to just move on and not have it ruin your day. Because that's really what makes it feel like unmanageable, when it's like, okay, now I have to like be sad for the rest of the day because I saw this one picture and I didn't like the way this thing looked.
Yeah, which is like, can you even do anything about that?
No.
You can't. Like, we're not, like, what's the thing we can do about it?
Yeah.
And I really, going back to like thinking about my kids, I love my mom. Mom, I love you. But she did a great job of really, I know she tried really hard to say positive things to me. And she wasn't, you know, like, we were just struggling through the 90s with like diet culture. It was really intense. And everyone's having their own, you know, generational, you know, it's passed on. We all learn how to do this. Thank you. My mom really did try really hard to be positive in the things that she spoke to me about me and my body. However, I could hear her internal dialogue about herself and about how she felt about other women. And I could hear it in the subtleties about ways she spoke about other women. I could hear it. I could just hear it. And I knew that it wasn't going to be good enough to just not be like logging calories in my phone in front of my kids or like skipping meals in front of them. That if I actually was still thinking actively these things or just trying to keep it secret, like I was just like, they can fucking see through that shit. They know everything. Mm-hmm. And I remember being like, I remember my mom trying to give me a compliment and just being like, you don't even fucking believe that. Therefore, I don't even trust you. You have no credibility with me in trying to say something nice to me. I hear you, and I even believe that you kind of believe it, but I just don't trust you. And that's just something that I'm like, yeah, it's not enough for me now at the place that I'm at. It's not enough for me now for the kind of parent that I'm trying to become and like be for my kids. I'm like, they can hear it.
Yeah.
And I feel like I want to protect them from the world that's going to come at them so intensely. You know, it's fat phobic and it is just riddled with diet culture. And I still have so much of it in me to unlearn. I'll probably never get to where I want to go, but like keeping the awareness and keeping myself like accountable to growing with that is just like, that's my commitment to them. That's like just what I want to try to do. I want to protect them from a little bit more if I can, you know, like make their home at least safe. Because I feel like, gosh, where did I read it or see it? I read something. This one was talking about like the reason she has a pretty good like body image was because like at home she had like, it was like really strong and like it got dicey in her 20s or teens and everything, but that like
I saw this too. It was a TikTok.
Okay.
Yeah.
I read something.
You read an article. You both read an article.
I'm sure I read the comments, okay?
Yeah,
I'll go deep
I read
in comments.
all the comments.
I read all the comments. Fuck. My life.
Every thought I have came from a fucking TikTok I saw, dude.
I genuinely thought I read something. It felt like the same place in my brain where the meaning goes.
But she was talking about how her mom like never
just did not had like actually and how powerful that is because the most important example they're ever going to have is from at home.
Yeah.
And that's the voice they're going to have in their head. It's going to be mine. Mm-hmm.
And it starts so early. Like they pick stuff up so early.
So early. Yeah. So early.
Even like the just like complimenting them for being like pretty and cute.
Oh,
like
God, it's so hard not to.
I notice myself if I see Sophia, I'm like, she's so fucking cute. And it's like, you know that is like, it's like going to be internalized someday. Yeah. As like, that's the best thing about you is how fucking cute you are. Yeah. You know? Like
you're likable because you're so adorable.
Yeah.
Like,
and it's hard because literally what's funny is Gavin and I were having this conversation this morning because I was like I call her cute and all the time, you know? Yeah. And it's hard. It's like she's literally my baby. So she just like, she'll like wake up and her hair is all like a mess and she looks crazy. And I'm like, you're the cutest thing in the entire world. It's like, give you kisses, good morning, you know? But it's hard too because it's like a lot of times I just mean it in this way of like, I just like love you so much and like I just want to cuddle you and like you're so like you as like this little being are like so cute, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, every time I say it too, I'm like, fuck, I need to like add a couple more adjectives because
vary it a little bit more.
Yeah.
I know, I'm so aware of this. I remember distinctly the first time someone corrected me for complimenting her daughter. This was a long time ago. This girl was so fucking woke and I had no clue at the time. I was like, whoa. It was a client. She came in. She had her, 18-month-old daughter with her. And I was like, this child was alarmingly beautiful. She was like...
just one of those kids with like long lashes.
She was just... was
like,
crazy.
why don't I get to look like you?
Yeah, it was like wild. And I was like, oh my God, she's so beautiful. And she really politely but firmly. And now I also realize I'm like, she also probably gets this a lot. And it has stuck with me. This is probably 15 years ago. I remember this conversation. She was like, we really actually try not to say that to her and about her. And I, like, she wouldn't correct me, but she educated me in that moment of like, this is what that's doing. And I'm aware of this. And yeah, she is. And so she's going to hear it a lot. So we're trying not to do that because she's also a lot of other things. And what if, at 4 years old, she gets a little awkward, 5 years old, 6 years old, start losing teeth. Things get kind of weird there for a minute. Will she be less important? Is her value lessened if she's not as cute in a certain way?
If she's not hearing it all the time, is she?
If she's not hearing it all the way, does she need to go search for hearing it all the time? Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay. And I was just like, my mind was blown. I was like, oh my God, that was the first time I had been introduced to the concept of like, compliments could be bad, or like what are the consequences of this, the long-term effects of that. I hadn't even fucking opened that door to myself yet. And I was like, wow. And this was a young mom too, and I was really impressed with how forward thinking she was. And I wish I was still in touch with this client because I would love to like tell her what an impact that had on me, but
and see what her 15-year-old daughter is like now.
I know.
Oh my God.
I bet she's really strong and smart and
owning the world.
Yeah.
But it is really hard to not say, like, because I've also heard like in the intuitive eating space and parenting, like, you just don't talk about their bodies at all. Like, this is the solution is don't talk about their bodies. And I'm like, I don't know.
Feel real.
Have you ever like held a little baby and then not want to be like, oh my God, your thighs, like, oh my God, look at how beautiful, like, it is.
It's human nature
to
some degree.
And I'm not going to say that like I'm arguing against this because I like can't yet handle the criticism internally, or like I can't. So I do try to think like, okay, try not to talk about their bodies, but I also am like, but a little bit might be okay, just a little bit. So one of the things that my husband and I say about our girls all the time is we're like, look at your healthy body. Oh my God, I love your healthy body, because I do want them to look at their body and be like, hell yeah. Like, I don't want them to think that they are their bodies. I don't want them to think that they're defined by their bodies looking a certain way. But I do think it's okay. I don't want to go all the way to an extreme where, like, you don't have... We also operate in a visual world. It's okay, I think. I went to work in the beauty industry, for crying out loud. I would be lying if I didn't think that that's... I just think it's not fair to deny that part of, like, art, too, as far in culture, and the importance of that, or being, like... I really love fashion. I really love style and the pursuit of personal style. And I think that's really cool and special. It may not be as important to somebody else, but like, I don't think it's wrong. I think it's really fun and can be really positive if it's doing the good thing for you and not the ick thing for you, right? Like, there's the difference there. So we try to use that little phrase, like, I love your little healthy body. Oh, your healthy body. Or you look so strong. And like, we just like, we'll be like, oh my gosh, look at your cute little bum. And like, talk about their little bodies, but
not constantly be like, you're so pretty.
Yes. And sometimes we say cute, but like, we really try to like vary the compliments, comment on what they've just done or the thing that they're working really hard at, or again, it's awareness. Like, I'm not going to be perfect, but I can be more aware. I can be constantly sort of learning.
Man, so intense. So hard.
Intense. So intense.
Before we go into obsessions, I want to tell you guys about one thing because it's like very related to all this.
Okay.
So our friend Caleb, who's a fellow photographer.
Yeah, I follow him.
Yeah, he posted this TikTok. I don't know when he posted it, but I saw it today. Where he said that he had a client who recently did this practice where she decided for like 30 days leading up to her shoot that she was going to like basically like be really conscious about like shutting down like negative self-talk about her body. So like if she had a negative thought, like just being aware and like kind of interrupting it and being like, nope, we're not doing that, and like moving on. Obviously you can't control what comes up in your head. Like, we all have intrusive thoughts, but like just being aware of it.
But you can control what you do next.
Yes.
How much you bat around that idea.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? How much you like
if you're
raccoon hands it.
That's the perfect description.
Literally perfect.
How much you want to hang out.
Which is like what Melanie was saying too. She's like, the thought comes in, just make it go away. Like, shut it down, you know, and
just
think
move
about
on. Yeah. And like think about something else. Or like one of my friends was telling me recently, I can't remember if I talked about this on the pod, but like doing affirmations that feel true. So like she was talking about it specifically for like pregnancy, but like my body's doing something really amazing right now. Like, that is true. I don't have to say I love everything about my body as it is right now, but I can believe that it's doing something amazing.
Yeah.
I did that when I was quitting vaping. But like, anyway, just that she had done this thing of like interrupting the negative thoughts, replacing it with a different thought, and like she told him that it like completely changed her like perspective. It was like a life-changing thing for her to do. And so I was really inspired, and I feel like it's something I'm like, should we add this to like the email that clients get ahead of their shoot and be like, this is something you may want to try if you're feeling, you know, curious, like
here's an extra credit.
Yeah.
I love that idea.
Right?
And I think that's so applicable too to like so many things in your life that you might be like doing or trying to do or whatever it might be, you know?
Yeah.
I love that.
Have
you been doing it?
Well, I just saw it today,
so
okay. But
all right, let's follow up next week.
Yeah, check back in next week. Sorry. Okay, should we do obsessions?
Yeah, let's do obsessions.
Okay, I can go first.
Let's hear it.
So my obsession this week, last week it was an album, this week it's a song. It's the song Vertigo by this artist Griff. So Angie and I talked about this because she and I have like very similar taste in music, and we also have similar habits where we'll listen to a song on repeat for like weeks and weeks and not listen to anything else, or like listen to the same album over and over again, like really obsessive about it.
Is there any other way?
No, there's not. Okay. It's playing in my head right now. Yeah. So I'm still listening to the Olivia Rodrigo album, and like still there's a couple of those songs that are like on repeat all day long, but then I've also thrown in this other song called Vertigo that is, it's just so good, you guys. Like, if you love pop music, like it is just such a good pop song, and like it's so like sparkly, and like the melody is so catchy, and it was like she had teased it on TikTok as like a sound for a long time before the full song came out, and it's just like I feel like I probably listened to it 100 times today already before you guys came over. So that is my obsession this week. It's truly an obsession.
She played it when we were at Portrait Masters last week, and then she was like, no, I listened to this on repeat, and like puts it on. And literally 30 minutes later, I was like, wait, like what happened? Like we went into like a trance with this one song on repeat. Oh my God, I love that.
It's the only way to do it.
Okay, so I've kind of been doing this thing for the last couple days that I've been loving. At night, after Sophia goes to sleep, I will be doing like, I'll either be working a little bit more or, you know, trying to fold the mountain of laundry that is unfolded on my bed or whatever. It's like little tiny chores, usually just like more work. But a lot of times, like, I don't like to be in the living room because Gavin will just like put the TV on, and he'll be watching the TV, he'll be on his laptop, and he'll be on his phone at the same time. And he's like triple screen, watching TikToks, watching a show, doing something on his computer, like reading Twitter. I don't know. It's crazy. It's a lot. So he has that going on, and I just like I get annoyed by the TV a lot. Like I do like to watch shows, and when I'm editing, I like it on in the background sometimes, but sometimes I don't. And I could really go like a week without turning it on, and I would be totally fine. And so the last couple nights, I just haven't been going out in the living room. I've just been hanging out in my bedroom, and I have been slowly putting on my lotion after my shower. I have been laying in my bed editing, and then I'll get up and fold some laundry. And, you know, it's been really, like, chill. Like, there's no, like, buzz in the background. It's really low-key. I have, like, the lighting just very, like, neutral, you know, like, kind of dimly lit. And also, I'm not stressed out about, like, I'm not, like, looking at the kitchen and being, like, I need to get up and clean the countertop. Or I'm not, you know, doing these things that normally it's, like, I'll be sitting and editing, but then I'm staring at, like, whatever needs to be fixed in my house, and it's like giving me anxiety. And now I'm like, you know what? I'm just removing myself from this room, and I'll like deal with it tomorrow or like whatever. But either way, it's like I'm not going to do it tonight anyway. So why stare at it and get angry while I'm trying to do something else? I'm just going to lay in my bed. It's been great.
Wow.
I really love that.
That's like so counterintuitive to what they say to do, but I love that it's working for you.
I know. Well, because otherwise it's like it just bothers me, or it's like I get up and I start cleaning it or doing to like make myself feel better. But then an hour's gone by, and then I feel bad because I haven't edited the things I wanted to edit or like whatever it might be. And right now I'm in like a weird zone of my editing where I have a lot of client stuff, but I also have all of these like shoots I was doing for like passion project shoots or like for friends or whatever it might be. So it's like I'm really trying to get caught up on like both these things, and I'm like, why make myself feel guilty? Like I'm just gonna not stare at anything else.
Yeah.
And edit.
And just set the vibe.
Yeah.
I love that.
It's been great.
I feel like that ties really well into my obsession, which is Okay, have you guys heard of 75 Hard? You guys heard of this?
I've heard of 75 Hard, yeah.
It's not that. It's the opposite of that. Okay, so 75 Hard, just for context, is like, I don't know. It's like an internet fucking challenge thing where you, for 75 days, you follow these fucking rules and you work out twice a day. And one time it's called 75 Hard, and people like...
It seems hard.
It seems really hard. There was a time in my life where I was like, ooh, because, I love an achievement. I also love, like, little rules and parameters. That's, like, kind of a fun thing for me to, like, kind of dive in on. But it also, like, I'm grateful for... It didn't come into my...
periphery?
Until I was at a time in my life where I was like, I had a new baby, and I was like, I'm not going to do that. It's not reasonable. And now I'm kind of like, I don't really know that that's a healthy, like, whatever. I don't think I can interact with it in a healthy way. So I kind of, whatever, put that aside.
I also feel like it would be hard to do it with 2 kids.
Literally.
2 workouts a day with 2 kids and 2 businesses that you own.
I'm not saying you can't. I'm just saying, why does it have to be so hard? Okay, so oh my God, my obsession is so long. Okay, and then let me back up. So I am a migraine girl. So my intention for this entire year is to like try to figure out what the hell is going on with my migraines, like try to understand it, try to do some experiments, like tweak my diet to see if I can find out if there's a trigger food, try to understand, catch all the low-hanging fruit so that then when I go to a doctor I can say I've done all these things, now can we do the next thing. But one of the things that they always say too is like lower your stress. The eye roll. The eye roll is so fucking okay.
Yeah, I'm sure we'd all be really healthy if we lived in a stress-free fucking world.
Literally, tell me how to fucking do that. Yeah, like in a tangible goddamn way. Okay.
It makes me so big.
And like get more sleep, which I'm like would love to. Can somebody please make that happen for me? But I'm really into this thing, so it's like I heard somebody call it 75 soft. Mm-hmm. And I'm not doing that because I am not going to like, again, track and like whatever. I'm making it even softer. But the idea is like that every day you adopt some little tips of like how to like minimize things or like be a little kinder to yourself, that kind of thing. So I'm utilizing some of that thinking, some of that sprinkling, because when people say like, well, lower your stress, but I'm like, well, fucking how? And then that's about as far as I get with actually doing it. Mm-hmm. But I also recognize that like, the stress and like then the physical manifestation of that stress is literally ruining my life, and it is part of my migraine trigger. I just know for sure. So I'm like, okay, what can I actually do? And I have to get beyond just like, that's just too hard. I can't do it. Can't lower my stress. So there we go. It's like, well, what can I do? So I'm really into this idea of like looking for shortcuts, making things easier. How can I be okay with certain messes? Because I'm not going to I won't relax. It doesn't feel stress-free to be like, just not clean up your house. Like that doesn't feel stress-free. But like one thing I did is like, I changed how I do laundry. So laundry is like my thing in the house. That's like what I own. I don't let Max touch the laundry. It's my thing. I like the laundry. But like folding everything and being like obsessive about how it all fits in the drawers, or like getting it all done, or like doing it, folding it and putting it all away in one sitting was like making me feel like my shoulders like tense up just thinking about it, because it was just never ending.
Yeah. It's daunting.
So I did this thing where like I don't match up socks, right? I like throw all of my kids' socks into a box, and then like when I have a little free moment, I find it kind of fun to like match up their socks and put them away. So like I changed up like how I do it. Like that's just like my little, and it's just like a little cheat thing that sort of works for me. So like there's always plenty of matched up socks for them, but like when I'm just like, oh, I have a little free moment, I feel like I can do something around the house, I'm listening to a podcast, I'm watering a plant, oh, I'll just pull out that box and I'll just like match up some socks. And it's like something about that little like permission to do things in an unorthodox way, or in like not the traditional way, or like finding a way that's like a little cheat, or like giving myself permission to, I know that I only am using the laundry as like an example. I need to find a better example of how I'm doing this. But like looking for any way that I can like shortcut, take the easy way out, because that's not my nature. Mm-hmm. I will make things hard. I will find new projects to do. I will assign myself like perfection, and I will then feel bad about it. So like I'm looking for ways that I'm like, what's my new little hack? What's my new soft way out?
It's like, what will the perfectionist in me hate? That's what I need to do, basically.
But not that entirely, because I actually won't relax if I don't put the laundry away.
Yeah.
Like, I can't totally relax that way. So how can I do it in a way that's, like, easier? Mm-hmm. How can I make it easier? How can I streamline it? I literally don't fold any of Max's shit ever anymore. I dump all the laundry on the bed, and I sort it into, like, mine, kids, his, and his. I just literally throw, like, at his side of the room. It's his fucking problem now, and I don't care about it. And then I, like, take the girls and I just, like, do it there. Like, I don't bother folding and then carrying it around. Like, I take it all to the, like, I just, like, do it in these, like, I've shortened the steps, and laundry is just, like, one of the places. I've also, like, I am working out, but I'm just, like, I'm walking and, like, all of the, like, lowering your cortisol workout stuff. I'm just, like, really focusing on that. And, like, I know Pilates is making a big comeback right now, and, like, lower core. It's so interesting how the trend cycles of these things. But literally looking for anywhere where I'm, like, can lower, minimize, shortcut, make it easier, just, like, searching for it and doing it. One of the TikToks I saw was talking about not responding to texts right away, but, like, giving yourself a time of night to do that, to just, like, respond. I haven't totally responded. That doesn't totally resonate with me, because I'm afraid I'll forget to do all those things. But I'm
Do you know how to mark your texts as unread on your phone?
Yeah, but that was dangerous, because then I ended up, like, just having anxiety texts, because then it's too long, and now I have like 15 unread texts that I just don't want to deal with. And I'm like that. I thought it was going to be the answer to all my problems. Turns out I have too much ADHD for that.
Or you just, like, open your phone over and over again because you're like, oh, I have a text.
Like,
you see the number.
Yeah.
Well, the worst, though, is when, because I kind of tried that a little bit, where I'd be like, I'm going to save this all for later, and then at, like, 8, I'm going to sit in bed and I'm just going to, like, respond really quick. And I'd be like, for, like, 10, 15 minutes. But then what happens is you respond, and then they respond back. And you're like, no.
I'm not available to talk. Yes. I'm available to send one message.
I know.
And I'll respond at 8 p.m. tomorrow.
So I'm not sure if that's the thing that I need to be doing. I'm not sure if that works best for me, but I'm like, one of the things I'm doing this year for, like, a long time is, like, really trying to think about, like, I've mentioned I have ADHD, and, like, how do I, like, work with my natural tendencies instead of, like, fighting against the way I operate. Like, for me, I know that, like, if I want to do, like, creative, sharp mind stuff, like, I need to do it at a certain time of day, or I just should not try to do it in the afternoon and then fight it and, like, beat myself up about it. Like, I can just be like, nope, it's not 9 a.m. I'm not doing that. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, really, like, leaning into those kind of, like, hacks for, like, how do I work best? Or, like, not trying to be somebody who is up at a time that doesn't make sense for me in the morning because it just doesn't suit me. Like, don't fight that. That's, like, a cortisol rising thing, like, a stress inducing versus, like, oh my God, or I made, like, charts for my kids in the morning, and I love it. They take it so literally. They're like, I do this, then this. Like, they have a specific order that they do everything in, and I'm like, oh my God, how come I wasn't taught that as a child? Like, doing certain things in the morning. Mornings are always chaotic for me. They were chaotic growing up. How can I make them less chaotic? Have, like, an actual, like, set routine. And I use visual timers for them too, and they actually really help me. Do you guys know about these?
No.
Well, it's like an egg timer, for example, like something you use in the kitchen, except for it has, like, you turn the dial and it has, like, a color, like red, or, like, you can use any color you want, but you can see. So, like, kids who can't tell time, they don't know what 15 minutes is on the clock, but they can see there's this much red and it's getting smaller and smaller and smaller. So I set the timer for them in the morning so they know, like, hey, when that timer goes off, we put shoes on. That's that. There's no arguments about it. But I'm, like, getting ready too. So I'll, like, peek out and I'm like, I can see, like, I don't need to be constantly looking at my phone, but I can like see, like, at a glance, like, I have my sliver of red at how much time I have left. And it's made, like, the getting ready in the morning so much smoother. Anyways, I'm just, like, obsessed with, like, how can I soften this? How can I make it less stressful? How can I shortcut it? Can this wait till tomorrow? All that kind of stuff, you know?
I love this.
It's, like, could be really big. You could go really big with it, or you can, like, apply it to just, like, your work life or whatever, you know?
Do you feel like it's helped with your migraines?
Yes. It's hard to say. There's so many factors.
Yeah.
It's hard to say, but I feel like I'm learning a lot. And I feel like, for my migraines, like, I feel empowered and I feel a little more in control and a little less, like, kind of wild and feel fearful of like whenever they're going to happen. I feel like I'm doing something productive that's going to help me no matter what, whether they're actually helping them or not. They're not hurting it. Like doing things like this is definitely not making it worse. And that makes me feel like, okay, I feel good. Or I feel like I can go to the doctor and like get an A+ for like doing all the right things. You know what I mean? Like that is all positive reinforcement. So yeah.
That's cool. It sounds like it's for like people who are perfectionists, like this whole approach could just be really helpful.
It's a good practice because just telling a perfectionist to like, it doesn't have to be perfect. It's like literally the how.
Yeah.
And this is how you like look for a shortcut and then like delight in it. Like the little sock thing is like, for me, that was delightful and super fun, but I still get to do the task and I'm doing it well. I'm just giving myself permission to do it in a different way.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I love.
It reminds me, there's a TikToker named Domestic Blisters, and she also goes by Casey. She has like 2 different, anyways, I follow her. She's like parenting and stuff, and she's, talks about neurodivergence and parenting a lot and running a household. And she talks a lot about like making like little home hacks and like doing chores around your house is morally neutral. And so like if you have to do it in a different way, or if like your closet doesn't look a certain way, like that's okay. And she gives some really interesting tips, and like, not all of them are things that I want to like fully adopt, but I like the philosophy and I love hearing her talk about it. And it's like gets you thinking like creatively, how else could it look? It doesn't have to only be a certain way.
Yeah.
I
love this. Okay, the posse, most of them know you, but like for those who don't, where can they find you?
They can literally find me at Studio Dark on Instagram, DARC, pronounced dark, and Camp Kramer at camp_Kramer, I think is how you'll find me. And personally, Jennytown USA is my personal Instagram. That's where you'll find me updating stories with Halloween costumes that I'm currently making.
I have been obsession. Loving the story series. So,
thank you. Yeah. It's my favorite thing.
I look forward to it. I mean, I want to say every year, but
it's been like 3 or 4 years now that I've been doing this.
You're really inspiring me to do something for Sophia this year. So
it's another place where I like really strive for imperfection and practice it. It's super fun.
Yeah. What are your ideas for Sophia's Halloween costume?
Yeah. I don't have very many right now, which is why I need to figure something out. Yesterday, though, my friend was telling me I should make her be like Boo from Monsters, Inc. Because I sent her this little photo of her in pigtails, and I'm like, that would be really cute.
Yeah.
Well, who was it at the studio? Was it Anji or you that was telling me I need to dress up as Cher for Halloween?
I think that was Anji.
Yeah, and then I was like, I should turn her into Sunny, and that'd be so funny.
Oh my god, I love that so much.
Yeah.
I feel like this might be your last year where you get to decide what she's going to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So do it.
Yeah. I kind of
it would be the year to be Sunny and Cher.
A few costumes. Like I think I need like 3 or 4, and I can just kind of play dress up with her all week, and then we can
do self-portraits of each one.
Yes.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So cute.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for joining us, Megan. This was great.
Thank you. It's always an honor.
We love having you here. I mean, you're here with us in spirit every week, but it's truly a blessing to have you here in person, and you'll be back in like another few months.
Yeah. Please. We need to just make it a regular, recurring.
Please. I would love that.
Okay. You can find us at nakedpeachboudoir.com and at Naked Peach Boudoir on all the socials. You can find the podcast at peach.posse on Instagram and Peach Posse on TikTok. And you can find me at T-Smells, which is TSMELLZ.
You can find me at Anna McLaughlin Photo.
And we'll see you next Tuesday.
Bye. Bye.